The moment I realized the voice calling me wasn't my wife, I knew we weren't alone in that house.
We should never have rented that mountain cabin. I still hesitate every time I tell this story, because even now, some nights, I feel like whatever was following us there never actually left. My name is Daniel. My wife Emily and I decided to get away from the city for a week and take a vacation. We wanted silence, seclusion, and nature. We finally found that house. It was listed on Airbnb as a mountain cabin. In the photos, it looked like a wooden house standing alone on the side of a mountain surrounded by dense forest. The nearest town was about 40 minutes away by car. There weren't many reviews, but the ones there were positive. One review caught my attention. Be prepared for silence. At the time, I thought it was poetic. When we arrived, our phones immediately lost signal. The host told us not to worry, that there was no phone reception in that area anyway. The key was in a small locked box next to the front door. The moment I opened the door, I sensed something was wrong. Or maybe it was the atmosphere that made my hair stand on end. The air inside was cold. Not a normal cold, but an unnatural cold. The house smelled old, like wood that had endured many winters. There were framed photos on the walls. There were people in the photos, but their faces were blurred as if deliberately erased. After staring at them for a long time, my head started to ache. The first night passed quietly. At least that's what I told myself. I suddenly woke up and looked at my watch. It was 3:12 a.m. Emily was sleeping next to me. But I was awake because I was hearing something. It wasn't footsteps. It wasn't voices, whispers. They weren't coming from inside the room. They were coming from inside the walls. I couldn't make out the words, but I was sure something was talking. I convinced myself it was my imagination and didn't wake Emily. The next day, we went for a walk in the woods behind the house. The deeper we went, the more uneasy I felt. I kept checking behind me, certain someone was watching us. Emily admitted she felt the same way. "This place doesn't feel empty," she said. That night, everything changed. At exactly 4:25 a.m., I woke up to the sound of footsteps. Barefoot footsteps on the wooden floor. Slow and quiet. They were getting closer. Emily was awake too. I could feel her hand trembling in mine. The footsteps stopped in front of our bedroom door. The doorknob slowly turned downward, but the door didn't open. Silence fell. The next morning, I checked all the doors and windows. Everything was locked. There were no signs of forced entry, no footprints, nothing. On the third night, Emily went into the bathroom and came out pale, unable to speak. A few minutes later, she told me what she had seen. In the mirror, behind her reflection, stood a long, dark thing. It had a human shape, but no face. She said it didn't move. It was just watching. From that moment on, Emily stopped looking in the mirror. That same night, while I was sitting alone in the living room, I heard Emily's voice. "Daniel, will you come here?" The voice came from the dark corner of the room. I instinctively stood up. The moment I took a step, I heard Emily's voice again, this time coming from the bedroom. "Daniel, where are you going?" At that moment, I understood. There was something else in the house, and it could mimic our voices. After that, we could hardly sleep. Every night at 4:25 a.m., the same things happened. Knocking sounds coming from inside the walls, whispers, soft footsteps. It was always close, but never visible. I sent a message to the landlord. The signal was weak, but the message got through. The reply came a few hours later. "You shouldn't have stayed there." I tried to ask what he meant. The connection dropped. He never replied again. On the fifth night, the fireplace went out on its own. The temperature dropped suddenly. I began to pray silently. At that moment, all the mirrors in the house shattered simultaneously. The sound of breaking glass echoed through the cabin. We decided to leave by morning, but at 4:25 a.m., the bedroom door opened. Something was standing in front of the door. It was human-sized and stood slightly above the ground. Its body was completely dark. It had no face, but I knew it was looking directly at us. Emily fainted. I closed my eyes and prayed loudly. At that moment, it whispered in a very strange voice, "This place belongs to us." I don't remember what happened after that. When I came to, we were sitting in our car, parked outside the cabin. The sun was rising. The house stood silently behind us, as if nothing had happened. We drove away without speaking. When we returned to the city, Emily stopped looking in mirrors altogether. Sometimes, when she forgot and looked for too long, she said she still saw something standing behind her. The house was later removed from Airbnb, but the house is still there,